Hey guys, I'm Supercure and I'm back with another video. Doomfist just got dropped on the PTR and I think you're gonna like it. Alright, so Doomfist just dropped on the PTR and this is what he looks like. He has a few different abilities, like his hand cannon, his meteor strike, seismic slam, the rising uppercut, the rocket punch, and he has a passive called the best defense. Now, we're going to go into those abilities in more detail in a few minutes. However, I just wanted to show off all of the abilities right quick, just to give you an example of what it looks like. He has his shift there, he has his E, which launches him forward and onto the ground, causing a little bit of an earth shatter sort of effect. His right click is a charge attack that launches you towards a specific area, and obviously deals damage to an enemy. I should mention that when the enemy gets hit, it's not just hitting them once, it's hitting them twice. So you actually launch them into the wall behind the punch. So there's a wall behind them, they actually receive more damage. I will break down the amount of damage it does in a few minutes. Once again, however, I just want to show you the abilities for now. He also has his left click, which is basically like a shotgun blast. Alright, as you can see, my ultimate's ready, and what his ultimate does is it launches him up into the sky, and he can decide to come down and deal an area of effect of damage. He has the initial zone right there, which does more damage, and then he has the external circle, which does a little bit less damage. However, once again, we'll break down the numbers in a few seconds. So that's Doomfist so far, and here's some information regarding his skills. Alright, so let's start with one of his more basic abilities. His left click, essentially it's his hand cannon. He launches 6 bullets that do 11 damage each. It takes 0.7 seconds for each one of these little shots to reload. He has 4 shots in total. The hits can get headshots as well, and there is no damage fall off. The next ability that I'd like to showcase is Seismic Slam. It does a consistent 45 damage and has a 7-second reload time. However, the biggest thing to note about this move is how it works in the air versus on the ground. On the ground, he launches himself forward and does a Reinhardt-esque sort of earth shatter thing. And from the air, he does the same thing. However, it's more like a meteor slam or some kind of... it works like a dive kick from a fighting game. For example... as you can see, after I used his uppercut, it was showing me where on the ground I would land if I used his seismic slam. Like I said, however, there is no difference in the damage output between in the air or on the ground. Here's an example of it being used on the ground, where you can actually combo it with your other abilities. I did die because I was at the edge there. What I did was I seismic slammed towards him, I used my uppercut, and then I right-clicked to combo him off the ledge. The next ability is Rising Uppercut. It does 50 damage and has a 7-second reload time. It launches the player and the enemy into the air, and both fall slowly so that the player can do some combo attacks afterwards. The next ability I'd like to talk about is his main one, which is Rocket Punch. It does 20 to 100 damage, depending on how much you charged it. It has an additional attack, where if they get launched into a wall, it will deal an additional 30 to 150 damage, also based on how much you've charged it. It launches the player forward and actually can cover quite a bit of distance, as you can see here. Here's an example of the distance it covers when it's not charged. Here's an example of the distance it covers when it is fully charged. As you can see, it's quite a bit of distance. Like I was saying earlier, it does 20 damage when you punch them, and it does 30 damage when they hit a wall, and that's the lowest it can go. So at a minimum, you're dealing 50 damage if they slam into a wall. That being said, if you slam them into a wall after punching them at full charge, you're actually dealing 250 damage, which is enough to kill quite a few heroes. Here's an example of a fully charged punch. It should be noted that I don't know why this happens, but a few times when I launched an enemy towards a wall, for instance, I didn't get the secondary hit. I'm not sure if certain angles are interfering with that. However, it might just be a PTR issue. Everything could change when it comes to live. That being said, you never know. His next ability is his ultimate Meteor Strike. It has 300 damage in the center, it has a 5-meter radius, and takes 1500 charge points to become active. For example, you control the circle with your WASD keys, and basically what happens is the ultimate charges, comes out, and he lands and knocks enemies back, as well as deals damage to them. Like I was saying, however, the damage falls off outside of that little blue circle. So like I was saying, here's an example of him coming down and slamming on an enemy. And it does 300 damage in that center area there. Last but not least, his next ability is his passive called the best defense. I'm assuming that's supposed to be followed up with a good offense. And the reason why is, surprisingly, whenever you hit an enemy, and like with one of your abilities that isn't your left click, you will gain 30 barriers. And what this means is, for instance, keep an eye on my health down there. If I right click them, press shift, and then press E and hit them, I'm actually gaining health, not health, but I'm gaining barriers. You lose barriers at, I think it's 3 per second. 400 is the cap. So it looks like you can have up to 400 barriers based on those abilities there, which is pretty cool. So the question I had was whether or not you could regenerate barriers in the middle of a fight. And there'd be no good reason why you couldn't. So it looks like you can regenerate barriers in a fight, which means that he's essentially healing himself. However, of course, the health isn't permanent, as when he gets out of the fight, it will go back down. So as far as his abilities go, that's pretty much everything. However, I will be following this little clip up here with a few examples from the PTR. We're going to try some stuff out with Mei, see if we can use her wall as a combo piece. We're going to try out some different combos and see how they work. And we're going to do this in a live lobby in the arcade. Thank you for watching, and enjoy.